Okay, so today we did like a ton of stuff. First, we did some stand up, then we did some mount controlling in the mount, and then we did four submissions, four chokes from mount. So the stand up was 2-on-1. We did 2-1 into single leg. One was when they're reaching for your collar, and the second one was if they have your collar. The mounts were when they bridge, grapevining, and also that was the first technique, and the second technique was sort of doing like a knee pinch or knee using hooks and like a arm dragish kind of thing to prevent them from knocking you off on the bridge. And then the four chokes were, I don't know the name of the first one, but it's same side lapel. It's like a same side lapel on both sides, and then you sort of choke, and that's more of a setup for working on the arms. And then the second one was like a reverse paper cutter. The third one was an Ezekiel with a little variation with a punch, and the fourth one was a Ezekiel with a lapel. Okay, so stand up. Let's say he is trying to grip your lapel, same side lapel with his right hand. So his right hand is reaching out to grab your left lapel. So with your right hand, you grip across to grip his tricep. So your thumb is down. You're reaching across with your right hand, thumb down, grip the tricep. Left hand comes to the bicep from underneath, like a curl. Right hand comes to the wrist, and you're kind of pushing down on the shoulder. You're like heavy on the shoulder. Your left foot comes behind his right foot, and then so now you're sort of coming toward his back. So he'll probably push back into you, but your left leg is preventing him from coming out. So you're sort of perpendicular. Your left leg is forcing like a perpendicular angle, and then you just drop your arms to his hamstrings to pick up the single leg. It's important that you keep your head up, so the crown of your head is kind of like in his shoulder, and then your head is up, so you're looking across to the other shoulder, across his body. So you don't want to look down at the ground at any time. Jason said that his legs will always be there, so you don't have to worry about looking at his legs. The second technique was a variation on that one, and that is, so that the first one was intercepting his arm before he gets a lapel grip. So now what if he has a lapel grip? So if his right hand comes out and grips your left lapel, you grip the sleeve. You can do like a pistol slip on the sleeve below his wrist with your right hand. Left hand grips in a C grip from the top. Break the grip. Retain the grip in your right hand. Your left hand comes up to the bicep from the bottom as you step around. So from this point, it's the same as the first variation. You have the bicep grip with your left hand, the sleeve grip with your right hand, and you have the pressure on the shoulder. And your left foot is behind his right foot, and then you go into the single leg. Okay, so then from mount control, so when you're in mount, one of their first response will either be a bridge or a knee elbow escape. So if he's bridging, the first thing he wants to do when he's bridging is create connection, because if there's no connection between you and him, then when he's bridging, he's not affecting you. So if you're just astride him and he's not touching you at all, then when he bridges, he's bridging into that space. He's not bridging into you. So he needs to create connection in order for the bridge to be effective. So first thing you want to do is reduce that amount of connection as much as possible. So if he has frames on you, you don't want to lean into the frame. You want to kind of sit back more. You can hand fight a little, I guess, so you can't like grip your skirt and pull in, or frame, or you can break a frame against the hip or something like that, in order to minimize the effectiveness of the bridge. So that's the first thing. Second thing, when he does bridge, so if he's bridging toward his left, so to your right, he's going to bring his right foot into near his butt and then extend that, and as he bridges to his left, his right foot will come in and then he'll push off that bridge to the left. So from your perspective, the foot on your left side is going to come up and then he's going to push you to your right. So when you feel his foot coming up, you want to swim your foot inside of his leg and then and grapevine it. And that takes out a lot of the power of the bridge, because the bridge is all coming out of that leg. So when you wrap around it, he has no power in it. The second method was, if we are doing the same direction, so he's bridging you to your right, you want to bring your right leg under him, and then your left, so your right leg is hooking around his waist, and your left leg is kind of pinching into his back. So it's almost like you're in S-mount, kind of. And then he'll be framing as he bridges. So you carry his right arm, you keep on carrying that across your body, so that you're pushing the frame from on you to past you. So the effect of this is his bridge is, well, what it effectively does is removes all of the connection between you and him, right? Because his connection, his upper body connection was through the frame, and his lower body connection was through the hips. So when you manipulate his arm so the frame is past you instead of on you, there's no connection there. And I think this is the way I see it. It wasn't coming very natural to me as I was doing it, but from thinking about it and watching Jason do it, it's kind of, when the point of the hooks is you still want to maintain connection with him, but on your terms. So what you're doing is you are sort of forming a circle around his hips, and then he's bridging, and you're kind of rotating around his bridge. So the way he wants it to work is your legs are a circle around him, and you're connected at one point. So when he turns that point to the side, then you also turn to the side. But what you want to do is, as he turns inside, you want to stay in the same absolute position. So your relative position changes. So for example, kind of like belly button to belly button, or like crotch to crotch when you're in mount, or your crotch is on his belly button, say, when you're in mount. He wants your crotch to remain on his belly button the whole time. So initially, before he bridges, his belly button is pointed straight up, so your crotch is straight on top of him. So when he bridges, his belly button will then be like 90 degrees to the side, and he wants your, ideally for him, now your crotch will be on the side and then he's on top of you. So instead, when he turns his belly button to the side, now you still want your crotch to be vertically on top of him. So not attached to his belly button, but now attached to his hip. But you still want to be in mount, right? You still want to maintain the dominant position. So that's the point of your legs maintaining those hooks. I think that is how this is supposed to work. Okay, so that was the mount control, and then the four chokes. The first one was, it just seems very not jiu-jitsu and more like just pure physical force. So you take, let's just say with your left hand, you grab the lapel. If you're grabbing your left hand, it's like straight grab, thumb inside, 4 fingers on the outside, and then you just bring it across, and then you grip the other lapel, the opposite lapel with your right hand, so you have same side with both hands, and then you just pull that down. So you pull with your right hand, you're pulling down, and your left hand, you're just pulling it across. It's like a very kind of barbaric sort of choke, like what you would imagine a white belt to do or something. And that is, so Jason said it's like probably not going to be effective, probably be more uncomfortable, but the point of it is that he will not be able to not protect his neck. So he'll bring his hands up to block it, because it's just so uncomfortable. And then you can do an arm attack, like an arm bar, or you could just move to like S mount and work from there. So that was the first one. Second one was you get a cross collar. So let's say you get a cross collar with the right hand, then and you want it to be like a paper cutter. So you don't need to go deep. You don't want to go deep at all, actually. So I think this is the one where Jason said you want to grab lapel at the clavicle. So you grip it with your, let's say you grip it with your right hand. So you go cross collar with your right hand at the clavicle, and then you bring it back across. So now you're bringing it back to the right side. So your grip should be loose enough that your elbow touches the ground, or maybe your fist. I forgot which, but your hand should not be against the front of his neck. The cloth should be, the lapel should be across the neck. And then your left hand goes under the neck. You cup your right elbow with your left hand, and then you can just close. Like, you just sort of flex your shoulders in, I think, and use your body weight to finish. So that was the second one. The third one was in Ezekiel. Let's say you put your right hand under the neck, then you, with your right hand under the neck, you grip your left wrist or left sleeve, and then you bring your left hand over the neck, and then you push out with your left and push up with your right. That's the traditional one. So Jason has a sort of a punch variation where your left hand, instead of going across the throat, just You make a fist and you put it against the neck, and then your head goes. So if your right hand is behind the neck, your right hand is gripping your left sleeve, your left hand, your left fist goes into his right neck, but the left side of the neck from your perspective, just as like a placeholder. It's sort of like the Kanto choke with the back of your heel as a placeholder, and then so the fist is in there. Then you bring your head to the right side, and then you use your shoulder to choke. So the fist is a placeholder, and then you bring your shoulder on the other side, and then you close the choke with the shoulder. And then finally, the fourth one is also an Ezekiel with the lapel. So this is if you're in mount and you want to do you want to restrain one of his arms with the lapel. So you get the lapel free, and then you are trying to get it over his elbow, and you pass it to your opposite hand. So your right hand is behind the neck, your left hand has the lapel out, and then you pass the lapel over his elbow and then into your right hand, which is behind his neck. So from there, he would be pretty immobilized, and you can do, I don't know what you can do, but there's a lot of options from there. And then, but so in this case, he manages to slip his arm out. So you don't have that lapel hold anymore, but now there's a loop in that lapel. So you pass your left hand through that across the other side of the neck, and then you can just choke him from there. So that was pretty effective. Yeah.